welcome back to Business Growth Central. I'm Nigel, the founder of Entrepreneur Circle.
I'm Cameron, Managing Director here at Entrepreneur Circle.
And I'm Elliott, the Chief Marketing Officer here at Entrepreneur Circle.
And you need to get ready because this episode is all about how you manage your money and your cash in your business. That's what we're going to do. Talk about cash management as a successful business owner. If you're making money but you're still unsure where it's going, are you actually doing well? Why does cash always seem tight? This episode, it's for you. Okay. Sorry, who's that?
Wow.
And is that a fan of the podcast? Just infiltrated the studio?
Sorry.
What's going on?
Someone's just come into our gallery. Who is it?
No, guys, that is none other than Daniel, a new video editor that we are working with today. Here's a little lesson for you. We're looking to build out our video team, and we had some great applicants. Dan's application really stood out to me, and so we've invited him in for a trial day. So we're paying him for today. He came in this morning. We actually filmed a video this morning. He's editing the video now, and for that kind of creative production role, where it's quite hard to really assess how you would truly get on with them in an actual work environment in a typical interview, highly recommend you actually bring them in, pay them the day's wages, and have the experience. So that's what's going on. So no need to call security.
Okay. No, thank you for telling me. That's great.
Stand down. It's all good. Wow. Yeah, no, I think the trial day is actually massively underutilized in the world of hiring. I think so many business owners hire people and they literally they put out the job ad and they get people to apply and they just invite them to an interview and they do that interview and then they hire someone. And it's like, wow, you spent maybe max an hour with that person.
Yeah.
And actually hiring someone is a big deal. And especially if it's an important role and you really value the output that they're going to be giving you, inviting them in for a paid trial day is a really smart use of money, don't you think?
Yeah, I do get that. I do get that. If we use the analogy of human relationships, I guess what you're saying is, we're effectively business owners are inviting someone to move in and live with them after just having met them for an hour for a coffee, which does seem like pretty poor advice, to be honest.
Pretty poor probability that that's going to work out well.
Don't do that, guys.
Wow, no, but I remember you had some really good dating advice, actually, the other day, didn't you? I think in fact, for the podcast, you should probably share. What was it? It was your 9-step program you got, something like that? Hit him with the first step.
Okay, the first step.
Hold on, Elliott, hold on. Leave your dating advice for another podcast. A business owner needs help.
Okay, we got a question. Question from Tom. Hello, Tom.
Hello, Tom.
I feel like I've got no idea about my own finances, whether I'm doing well or I'm just sinking slowly. We turned over 180k last year, and some months I had 20k in the bank, and others, I was in my overdraft. As a business owner, how do you budget and get on top of your numbers? Well, Tom, boy, are we going to help you out today?
Let's dive into it.
So I guess his real question is, how can I be turning over 180 grand and still feel skinned?
I think Tom was a bit more eloquent than that, but yes, that's a good
Fundamentally,
summary.
that's what he's
saying.
Good
summary. Yeah, and I guess that is the life of so many business owners. Especially at a surface level, things look like they're going really well, but actually, the thing that is the killer of most businesses is actually it's the cash and the cash cycles and actually having enough cash when you need it. And that's the thing that so many people, it's hard. When you're a business owner, there's no real school for running a business. There's no class you can take. There's, plenty of courses on individual aspects, but
called Entrepreneur Circle.
What I'm saying is, okay. But there's no you go to school and they teach you fabulous things, right? And you learn the way to do stuff like that. And for most business owners who have not yet discovered Entrepreneur Circle, they go around stumbling their way through trying to work it out themselves.
Yes.
And actually that's a problem. And that is, this sounds symptomatic of that, because when you run a business, first business, and you've not done this before, the truth is managing your finances is quite a bit different than if you've got a job and you've got your salary coming in,
you're right.
What your outgoings are. And I think that there will be lots of people out there who relate to Tom's question.
Oh, no, I'm sure there are. And it's why when we developed the master plan, we started at the beginning of the master plan with really the first 2 steps. And this is critical, and this will be, I think, really helpful. Tom, to get to understand what's actually happening and also what needs to then take place to get where he wants to get to. The first step in master plan is for any business owner to actually literally work out and write down what success looks like. What do I actually want from this business? And obviously a key part of that is money. It's not the only part of that. It's the amount of time you want to put into other things and pieces. But what money does this business need to throw off in order for me to be enthused and fulfilled from the business that I'm building here? That's the first step. Then fundamentally in step 2, we say, well, what does the business have to look like in order to throw off that money? And in order to get there, we've got to also understand, well, where is the business right now? We've got to actually get and look and understand the numbers. And the problem, I think, for Tom and for lots of amateur wannabe business owners compared to the professional business owner is they manage their business largely by what's in the bank account. And that's what he alluded to in his question. And whereas actually a lot of the money in your bank account is not really your money. Well, it's not. This we're looking at when this is, at any point in the month, we've got money in the bank account that we have to keep in there in order to meet payroll at the end of the month. So that's not our money. And we've got money in there that's got to go to HMRC to pay our VAT bill at the end of the month or the end of the quarter. So that's not our money. So, but of course, if you're running a business off a single bank account, it can look like, we've suddenly got loads of money. That's why we're basking in cash. 45 grand in the bank account. How lovely. Poof. But if payroll's tomorrow and the quarterly VAT bill's the day after, well, to that, so this is about getting a proper picture of it. So we should probably start to break some of this down and what practically things can happen.
We should do. I guess, obviously, Elliott, you had your own business. Did you have a good grip of the numbers?
Had a fantastic grip of the numbers. Yes, from the get-go. I was instructed well from my mentors who set me up on the right path, really from the start. But I mean, what really helped for me, so let me run through 2 quick things. The first thing was, before I launched my business, I modeled out all the scenarios I wanted to hit. So I was running an advertising agency, and so I modeled out all these different scenarios of how many clients I would have and at what price point, and the corresponding, revenue.
What that would mean for money.
And in this business, cash, because they would just pay monthly rather than any of our dodgy contracts and all that kind of stuff. And so that gave me a very good view of what would need to happen and enabled me to plan my finances relatively straightforward. But the masterstroke was I read Profit First, right as I started my business. And Profit First by Mike Michalowicz is a great book, which you should go and read. Did we talk about it on the book episode we did?
We did.
Yeah, so go and tune into that. But long story short, you separate your bank account or have multiple bank accounts with lots of pots. Now, I used Starling Bank at the time, not an endorsement, or that worked fine for me. And I had loads of different pots. And I was so good with my pots. I had pots for everything.
How many pots?
I'm talking, to be fair, only like 8 or 9. But every possible scenario...
They did call him Elliott Potterill.
I had my pots full. So as soon as money came into the current account, I had my, my operating expenditure. I had my profit account.
Yes,
profit my favorite one. I would always fill that first, as per the rules of Profit First.
It's in the
I
title.
had my salaries and payroll, my VAT.
Yeah.
And
so just as a poor potless chap, not a pot to piss in. Just the one pot actually. But so when just talk me through this, because so you've got like your payroll pot. So how do you allocate? Is that like every month you take what your payroll is going to be and you plop it in the pot, or throughout the month are you chipping away and putting stuff in?
Chipping away. And so each of my pots, I would have a goal, so you could see at any one point what should be in the pot and how full the pot was. Give you a nice little percentage bar. But as my payments came in, first thing, put the VAT into the fat pot. Second thing, fill up my profit pot. Third thing, allocate the other things by the deadlines by which I need to pay them.
Nice.
And so I found that really easy to manage, and I quite enjoyed it. I love it.
Modern day banking makes it a lot easier as well, doesn't it, to move money and to slide them in the right ways. But I mean, here at EC, that is fundamentally what we do now. Obviously, we're quite a big business now. We turn over kind of 8 figures annually. So it's 7 figures every month that is going through our account. But here's what happens on the final afternoon of the last working day of every month. So at the end of the month, what happens? Marianne, who is my head of finance here, so she moves some money. So we populate our pots on a monthly basis, and the first thing that she does at the end of every month is we have a main bank account that we trade through, that all the bills are paid through and everything.
Yep.
All things go through, and that account runs through the month. And on the last afternoon, in the last hour of the last working day of each month, she will go into that account and she will swipe across from that account into our VAT account. What I think from a minute is 13.6% of this month's turnover. And well, because what we work, obviously we've been in business for many years now, and we know that on average our quarterly VAT bill equals 13.6% of our turnover.
I see.
Okay, so every month we we don't have to put 20% in, because obviously we have some costs that effectively we claim the VAT back.
Claim
on
that
everything else.
back.
So what we know from our experience over lots of years,
Yeah.
our number is, and I may be wrong on this, but it's ballpark, it's 13.6%.
Yes.
So 13.6% of the turnover this month gets swiped into the VAT account on the last day of every month. What then happens fundamentally is then the rest of the money in that account, apart from £50,000. So for us, our float, because again we're a 7-figure monthly business, 8-figure annual business. So 50 grand is our kind of, you don't want to go any lower than that.
Yes.
Lots of bills are big. So 50 grand is just our unit. Obviously, if you're a smaller business, you might get down to 5 grand or even 1,000 grand or whatever. But you pick your number. For us, it's 50 grand. And everything above 50 grand to the nearest 1,000 gets put into the profit account, because the VAT is allocated. Payroll's just gone out. That's gone out on the 28th of the month, so we're not going to payroll. So it's the end of the month. We've put the money in the VAT account. We've got a 50 grand float to go into next month, and then the profit account is filled up. And my profit account has only got round numbers in it. It's all always the round thousands, as it were.
Yeah.
And that straight away, just that fairly rudimentary process would give Tom and anyone else like Tom a much better understanding of where his business is actually at. It'll stop his accumulation of large balances in his main accounts, because at least he'll understand what they are for. Because your bank, when you've only got one bank account for your business, that bank account is lying to you all the time. Well, it is, because
You have to do the mental maths to work
it's
out.
lying to you, because a lot of that money in that account is not your money.
Yeah.
Some of it is, as I said, for HMRC and VAT and corporation tax, and some of it's for payroll, and you owe some of it to your creditors that you've got to pay off because you've had the stock from them, their bill's due as well. It's not their money, so your bank account lies to you. So getting the pots in place, and as Elliott's advice is really great at that. I mean, Mike McAlevich's book is great.
I'll tell you something I did that I did by accident, but learnt to really love. I called this the surprise VAT bonus. And so I love this because I would always put all the VAT from our invoices into the VAT pot.
Okay.
But what I would not do is account for, in your case, you're taking it from the 20% whatever to 13.6.
Yes.
I would just leave the 20% now and not account for the VAT. And so every 3 months when my VAT return would come due,
Got a bonus.
oh my God, it was glorious. Because after all of my deductions were taken away, that 6.4% was just there, unallocated. And that would get swept straight into the profit pot, and that paid for many nice things. But I used to love when my VAT return was due. I turned it into my favourite moment of the year. But also, I'm not going to lie, that made us more efficient because it reduced our operating capital in between then, and actually made us, it was quite a good constraint. Because as we know, businesses can become cash guzzling machines.
Oh, dead right.
And
Easy.
so how you manage your money and how you do things like that, if you so wish to, actually make yourself more efficient is a very powerful driver.
And so if we go back to Tom, wasn't it, our question?
Yeah.
In his instance. So he said he's turning over 180 grand a year. So if that was all nice and smooth, which I know it won't be, Tom, but if it was, that is 15 grand a month, every month comes in. So in Tom's case, well, okay, so what's that 15 grand have to cover, Tom? Because we can work that out, in terms of what his overheads are, what his fixed costs are, what is he going to pay for his vehicles, and has he got any rent and that sort of thing, and his utilities and his insurance and his subscriptions and everything else. And then we can look at, and he's got to have his payroll and that sort of thing. So there's 15 grand a month coming in, Tom. How much does that actually leave for you? Because this is the way then he starts to understand. I mean, again, a big thing, I know it's a little bit controversial, is this, although it's becoming less so, but because we all get paid on payroll. So
that's crazy.
But well, it is a little bit, because obviously what your accountants will tell you is that, of course, the difference is getting smaller and smaller with every budget that goes by, and there is still a small, usually, benefit to taking dividends. From a personal perspective, I much prefer to have my tax paid as we go through. So we are all on payroll. And if Tom's got payroll, if you've got other people working in the business, he's paying them, it'd be a really smart thing to pay himself as well. Because again, this is how you stop yourself getting sick, because you now know what's coming in, you know what's got to be done in the business. You treat your pay like an overhead, like a fixed cost.
Yes.
And rather than not seeing what you got, what's left.
And it's a great way as a business owner to avoid the situation where you prioritize everything else.
That's the point. Yeah.
And then you pay yourself last.
Yeah.
Which is the kind of default position so many people who start out, especially with smaller businesses, find themselves in.
Which is the whole premise behind Profit First. This is like a complete kind of...
Sponsored by Mike McCambridge.
But I think that's quite psychologically quite an important thing, because I think a lot of people can get way too hung up on tax optimization. And whilst, don't get me wrong, when I see my pay slip and see the crazy amounts of tax that we're paying, it hurts a little bit.
The thing is, at least it's all been spent so well.
We don't need to go there. But I do think a lot of people, they can get distracted and focus too much on optimizing their tax. And I remember being at a mastermind in a castle down in Dorset a couple of years ago, and we were having dinner, and we began to talk about these tax optimization strategies and offshoring and all this kind of stuff. And the guy whose mastermind it was just lent in with a very interesting remark. And he was just like, just make more money. Just make more money. Stop worrying about it. Stop trying to save a few percent here and there, and just make some more fucking money. Because at the end of the day, then it won't matter. And I was like, you know what? Fair enough. Focus on making the business better, you getting better, and just earn more.
Which is why that master plan structure works so well. Because it starts with what does success look like for you? And so many people come into master plan, and the first time they go through, they come into step one at the very beginning, and they go through step one, and the number that they come up with, I don't know, let's just say, £5,000 a month would be great for me. And then, of course, what happens when we get into this, we work out what the business to do, and often when the number's quite modest, as £5,000 a month would be quite a modest number, we're able to get there quite quickly for them. And then actually they go around it a second, actually, I know I said £5,000, but actually really 15 would be much better, or 20. And the number of people that come to the again, which is exactly this point, but it's exactly this point there, because it is way easier in that regard. It's a slide I've used a lot in my talks. All of us as business owners can go to the ocean with a little tiddly teaspoon to take out some water, or we can go with a great big fuck off barrel to take out the water, and the ocean does not mind. And that's I think what's behind that, because it's really there's loads of money out there, folks. Loads of money out there.
It's why I think all business owners should really focus on, in any given year, how many times they can increase their own salary, and set that as a challenge for themselves. Ideally, every month you should be increasing your salary and forcing what is a very lovely constraint on your own business. Because by doing so, guess what? You have to earn more money. You don't want to put the business under stress. You don't want to make it a crazy scenario. But then you get the rewards as well. And a lot of people they don't even remember that you can do that. And that's actually is an okay goal to set. And let me tell you, when you're trying to increase your salary every month, man, what a fun.
The first time I encountered that in real life was in one of my mastermind groups. And it must be 15 years ago now. And the guy involved was a guy called Dominic. And he ran an IT business, and he had fairly expensive taste in it. He flew helicopters,
Like for fun.
Which, yes.
Like he was driving.
No, he was had an IT business, but he used to fly helicopters. That was his hobby.
Yeah, but was he actually driving them?
Yeah. I don't think you call it driving, but yeah, he piloted the helicopter.
Piloting.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, but then he'd been married a couple of years, and long story, he came to Mastermind, and his wife was expecting their first child, and this was, as it is for most of us, this is a very pivotal moment in one's life. And what Dominic realised is that all the things he wanted to do in his life for his daughter, would require considerably more money to come out of his bank account. And so he did what Elliott has just said here. What this was the discussion in Mastermind. Is what we came up with for him, and he wrote what it was very grandly titled an irrevocable letter of instruction. Irrevocable, I guess, being important because it means you can't change your mind or revoke it. So this irrevocable letter of instruction was sent
Is
to
it lockable?
an irrevocable.
Or is it irrevocable?
No, irrevocable.
Is it?
Yeah, irrevocable. Yeah, I'm sure.
Not
Anyway,
sure on that one.
anyway, either way,
Irrevocable.
I can't change it now. It's irrevocable. So, and he sent this letter to his bookkeeper, finance accountant person, and he said, starting next month, I want you to increase my pay, my gross pay, by £1,000 a month until my net pay equals what at that time was £20,000 a month net. Was what he wanted.
It's like take home.
Yeah, so that's what he had. So and he was going to go up by £1,000 a month till he got to £20,000 net.
Yeah.
So the gross was going up. That's what he did, and he will tell you that was completely life changing for him. And it did exactly what Elliott said, because what it absolutely forced him to do was to think. And he was already, he had a successful business. He was very progressive with his thinking. But what it forced him to do now it became real. Now there had to be the money in the account for that payment to go through at the right time of the month, and it just forced him to accelerate the stuff that he was doing with his business in order for him to live and fulfill the life that he wanted to lead, specifically for his new family. And in that regard, it's a very, very useful tactic. And again, with Tom's question, because he's all about, how can I turn over all this much money and still feel skinned? Well, the answer is because you're not actually really thinking about things in the right way, Tom. It's like, well, what do you actually want from this business? Well, then let's work out the best ways to get there, and let's start taking more money out every month on the way there, and we can start to pull a set of numbers together, as Elliott did. We can start to map out all the different variables, what will need to happen, and how many customers and what sorts you want to do, and you'll find that you're doing work now for customers that are not paying you enough money for you to live the life that you want to lead, and so you have to migrate away from them and bring on more of the customers that you do actually want. And when you start to get into this, you'll realise that some of the products that you sell or some of the services that you provide are much better margins than others, because now you're looking at the numbers with a purpose. This isn't a textbook lesson in school to learn about something in theory. This is your flipping life that we're talking about here. Because if I can nail this and get this bit right, and all this happens in the first two steps. It's why and fundamentally, it's why Masterplan is so powerful. And actually, because everything that comes after it, after step two, is easy. Once you got step two, once we know what the business has to do, it's not difficult to work out a path to get there, and then put in place the right team and the right marketing and the right customer journey. All that stuff's easy once you've got the first two steps done. But without the first two steps done, you're left wondering, how can I turn up 180 grand and still feel skint?
Yeah.
It's like walking a all little curvy, mixed little footpath in the clouds. Gosh, it's actually very difficult to walk a windy path with thick fog. You can't see where you're going.
That's true, is that?
But once the fog clears, just walk along the little path.
Yeah.
Easy.
And what's important, because we've seen a few in Entrepreneur Circle, businesses doing £1 million a year that are really businesses. Well, because they don't make any money.
Yeah.
Because the numbers are fucked.
Well, what's the saying? Turnover is vanity.
Profit is sanity.
Sanity.
But cash is king.
Hey. Get that on a t-shirt.
But that's absolutely right. And you can't outgrow bad business maths.
Well, I think, one of the most important numbers in any business that is also a number that most business people don't even know is your margins. Right?
Yeah.
And I think that, most business owners probably don't know, if they're selling something for £1,000, actually, what are the margins on that? How much of that is actually able to be allocated to your different pots? And, I think the pots is a great kind of visualization as well of your margins, because it's actually, if you know your margin, allocating into your
Yeah,
pots is
it's
really
true.
easy, because
Yeah,
every
it is.
invoice that gets paid, you can actually divide that invoice out
Yeah.
by the different pots and what you got there based on what's going on. And again, if you're in a business where you're making lots of sales, but you don't seem to have much money left over, then there's a good chance that looking at your margins is probably where you're going to be losing a lot of stuff, right? If you've got very low margins.
I mean, it's hard just to check around the table here to kind of, you need to kind of, when you want whiteboard to kind of explain margins and stuff. But the, I mean, there are two margins, essentially your gross margin and your net margin. And your gross margin is effectively the gross profit that you make, which is, your revenue minus your cost to fulfill on that particular order, whatever it may be. And then obviously your gross profit has to be enough gross profit to cover your overheads and your salaries and that sort of thing. And then what's left is your net profit, which is your net margin.
Yeah.
But what's beautiful about gross margin in particular is that once a business is beyond break even, so we're making some profit, even if it's only as little as £1 profit, if we make once we're beyond break even, then every additional sale, the gross margin from that sale goes straight to the bottom line, because at break even, there's enough money coming, enough gross margin has come in to cover all our overheads.
Yeah.
So every additional sale, and often gross margin typically, it varies obviously by industry, but typically gross margin will be somewhere between 40 and 60% typically. Net margin, net margin should be somewhere between 10 and 20%. As a broad brush. But your net grows a lot quicker than your gross. Is my point. Once you get beyond break even. Now again, this might be just really playing with Tom's brain at this point, because I suspect he hasn't got this. He hasn't got.
Well, that's the first step, isn't it? Is to work out, actually, you've got to dig into your numbers and see what's actually going on in your business, and especially if you find yourself in a cash crisis, it's quite motivated to dig into the numbers and have a look at it. I'm always fascinated by businesses that are really low margin, just by who's decided that they wanted to get into that business. Because the smaller your margins are, in my opinion, the more stressful it is.
Yeah,
because you look at you've got big crazy big supermarkets. Flipping Walmart is operating on 2% profit margin or something crazy.
Yes.
It's so raised thin. You think budget airlines and their margins all really small, and the stress and angst that comes from all that sort of stuff there. And life is definitely less stressful if you have big fat juicy margins, right?
Yeah.
Just gives you a lot more leeway.
I think one tactical thing that we haven't spoken about, that I remember when I was in the agency days and we were eyeing up bigger office and we wanted to go and upgrade our premises, which was going to come with a heavily increased cash outlay, not more so from the additional rent, but there was going to be a couple of months because of the notice where I'd have to paying for 2 offices, and then also you have quite a big chunky deposit, which is 3 months of the new office rent. And so this was going to give us a bit of a cash squeeze. And I remember having a call with you to run through it. And what you asked me to do was to pull together a cash flow kind of forecast.
Yeah.
And that was really helpful. And so what that was effectively a little Google sheet that had all of the days for the next 90 days when all this was going to occur.
Yeah.
And it forced me to get very clear on all of the cash activity that was going to go on. So all of my major payments and when they would go out.
The key thing is it's cash, not
revenue or invoices, etc. So when the cash will be expected to hit the bank account, all the major outlays as well as all the revenue expected, so we could see exactly how that bank account was going to fluctuate and move. And the art of going through that was very, very helpful, because not only did it further solidify in my mind how my business operated and my understanding of the cash rhythms, but it also made the decision very, very clear, because now you have pretty much complete clarity as long as your confidence in those invoices coming in is strong. And that was a great way to demystify it all, because it's very scary and the anxiety comes when you're not clear on what is actually happening.
It's the unknown.
This is absolutely
the
right.
unknown that
it's,
gets
it's
you.
why we should return to your little analogy about walking the coastal path,
The windy path.
in the fog. And the mist is come down, because that is what it's like for a lot of people in business. And that becomes a particularly difficult place to be when things get tough.
Yeah.
When all of a sudden there isn't any cash in the bank or the money's run out. And what happens in those situations is that poorly run businesses and ill-equipped business owners, these wannabes that I talked about, in that scenario, they panic. And that's when they cut marketing and they end up having all the discount stuff and they stop investing and they lay off people and they freeze and all their decisions become taken out of fear. Whereas when you know your numbers, you're able to be much more confident, much more strategic, and indeed much more accurate, because you're not relying on instincts and what you feel.
Yeah.
You actually, oh, this is fine. We got the path. We know what's going to happen. This kind of work there through, and all this comes from a proper understanding of the numbers. And cash flow forecast, very, very important part of that. Because what isn't an important part of that are your last year's annual accounts. Because what the accountants provide, is in that regard, they tell you what happened, and often you get last year's accounts 4, 5, 6 months into this year.
Yeah.
So effectively, you're getting a reading on something that was happening 18 months ago in many cases. So it's almost like an autopsy, really.
That'll be a really weird way to manage your business's cash flow through your annual accounts.
But that is what happens. For lots of businesses. I mean, I've said for many, many years that the problem that most businesses have got is they're not paying their accountants enough money. Now, this is the accountant's fault, just to be clear. But what's happened is business owners regard their accountancy costs as an expense to be minimised and made as small as possible. But as a consequence of that, what happens is you don't get the time of the accountant, and therefore you can't get the insights and you can't get the help, and therefore you're left without the knowledge, and you're back on that coastal path in the fog and the mist
And you fall off the cliff.
and the rain. But that is what happens. And anyone that's actually growing a business, certainly once you've got a business established and you want to grow this, then money, in my experience, money spent with the right accountants has come back many, many times over. And just to be clear, I do accept that most accountants are useless, but there are also quite a lot of exceptions. There are some very good accountants out there, and it's worth spending more money with those people.
So true.
Because when you know the numbers, it gives you the confidence to attack, to be proactive, to go on the front foot.
And we talked about margins a lot. I think that the other number I would recommend everyone get crystal clear on if you're a business owner is your break-even number. Because if you've got your break-even number, if you know that's like the floor, like this is the absolute minimum we need to hit.
So break-even would be the amount of sales you've got to make each month in order to not die. Basically,
there's one way to put it.
Well, no, but break even is not a bad place to be. Well, I like break even is like right, you're in the ocean. It's a nice ocean. It's the Caribbean Sea. Say it's nice and warm. You're not gonna freeze to death. You're in the ocean with a life jacket on. Okay, you can stay there for quite a long time. Is my point. You're not gonna die.
Have I got a sandwich?
No, let's not. But that's break even. It's not. Listen, no one dreams of one day getting to break even. But no. You're not gonna die. You're okay.
You got a half a bottle of water with you.
Fine. And a Mars bar.
Yeah, there you go. So you're good for a few days anyway. But I think that's such a key number, and the race to break even every month is another way you can turn what is actually quite an important milestone in a business into more of a fun psychological exercise. Because actually, in the same way giving yourself a pay rise every month is a great motivator. Actually, if you know what your break even number is, and say it was 12 sales, and actually the race on the business to get to that number of sales.
12 sales by the
knowing
12th
that
month.
Actually, if you once you get to that point, boom, you're all sorted, you're covered, you're safe. You're bobbing around that Caribbean.
I had a guy yesterday, Mastermind, and he was jubilant yesterday because he just got his numbers for last month, and it was the first month that his monthly recurring revenue, because he's got a subscription business, his monthly recurring revenue for the first time last month is more than his total costs. So now every sale he makes now, all that money is coming to him in his mind. It's taken him 18 months to get to this point, but it's a big milestone to cover across. And again, going back to Tom, what might be happening here, because at the end of the day, is Tom's business actually making enough money for the risk and the angst and the stress and the time that he's put into it? And it might be, But it might be if he's only making 20 grand profit on his 180 grand and it's consuming his life, he might not need a better cash flow. I know it's break. He might need a better business to go into. This is the bit about how but you can't outmarket and outperform bad business maths. All sorts of factors play a part in maths, and not least of which is pricing, of course. Because that was a big factor with you as well, wasn't it? Because you understood from the word go with your agency. You went a very different path to most agencies, but your price points were always what will be regarded by many as high pricing. But the high pricing gave you the money to put in the care and the attention and the time to look after the clients and deliver what they needed. You're like the accountants we've been talking about, as opposed to most agencies who haven't got enough money to give time to an individual client, so they have to spread themselves too thin. No clients are happy. They're not happy, and
the vicious circle.
High price, happy life. That's what I used to say.
Well, there we go. Another great T-shirt coming soon to the Business Essential merchandise store. Wow. Whew.
Boom.
I mean, Tom must be feeling a whole lot better after that. I mean, some key homework, working out that break-even. Cash flow.
Yeah, that's right. Break-even, cash flow, the first two things.
The pots.
Absolutely. Having
Deploy the pots.
Yeah, that will make a big difference, Tom. You get it. And if you're really serious about building it, then maybe Masterplan's the place to go. Because it would sort it out.
Well, there we go. Tom, until next time. From all of us here at Business Growth Central, we'll see you on the next episode. Until then, bye-bye.